Now, Dame Patricia Routledge, the actress best known for the TV show Keeping Up Appearances, has died at the age of 96. She also appeared on stage in many productions of Shakespeare plays.
It's with heavy hearts that the world says goodbye to one of Britain's most beloved performers, Dame Patricia Routledge, who passed away peacefully in 2025 at the age of 96. For decades, she stood as a shining beacon of British comedy and theatre, her sharp wit, unmistakable voice, and impeccable timing capturing the soul of a generation. To millions, she was Hyacinth Bucket, or should we say Bouquet, the unforgettable, class-obsessed social climber from Keeping Up Appearances. Yet behind the laughter, there was a woman of profound grace, discipline, and heart, an actress who dedicated her life to bringing joy to others, even when the spotlight dimmed. As news of her passing spreads, tributes are flooding in from across the world. Colleagues, co-stars, and fans remember not just a national treasure, but a woman whose humor softened hearts and whose performances reminded us to find dignity in our flaws and laughter in our imperfections. But Patricia's story is far more than just comedy. It's a tale of ambition, loneliness, faith, and an undying love for the craft that defined her. From her humble beginnings in Birkenhead to the grand stages of the West End and into the living rooms of millions, this is the story of a woman who made the world laugh, and in doing so, left behind a legacy that will never fade. Patricia Routledge's story begins in the quiet town of Birkenhead, Cheshire, where she was born on February 17, 1929. The daughter of Catherine and Isaac Routledge, Patricia grew up in a working-class household filled with warmth, discipline, and faith. Her father worked as a haberdasher, and her mother instilled in her a sense of curiosity and determination. Those who knew her as a child remember a girl with a vibrant imagination, one who could turn even the simplest story into a performance that held everyone's attention. She attended Birkenhead High School, where teachers quickly recognized her exceptional gift for language and performance. Her love for reading and storytelling naturally evolved into a passion for acting. After finishing school, she went on to study English language and literature at the University of Liverpool. While there, she joined the university's dramatic society, finding her calling under the lights of the small campus stage. Acting to her was more than a pastime. It became a profound expression of humanity, a way to connect to others through emotion and truth. After graduating, Patricia joined the Liverpool Playhouse, one of Britain's oldest repertory theaters. Those early years were not easy. Money was tight, and the theater world could be harsh to young women who didn't fit the typical image of a glamorous starlet. Yet Patricia stood out for her dedication, her deep understanding of character, and her unmatched work ethic. Colleagues would later recall how she could bring both laughter and tears within the same performance, a rare duality that became her hallmark. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, Patricia made her way across Britain's theater circuit, building a reputation as one of the country's most dependable and gifted actresses. Her command of the stage soon brought her to London's West End, where she appeared in a series of acclaimed productions. Her versatility shone in both drama and comedy, from Shakespearean classics to light-hearted musicals. In 1968, her performance in the Broadway production of Darling of the Day earned her a Tony Award, a rare achievement for a British actress at the time. While many would have used this success as a springboard into Hollywood fame, Patricia's priorities were different. She loved theater, the discipline, the structure, the immediate connection with the audience. Fame was never her pursuit. Craft was by the 1970s and 1980s. She had become a respected name among theater circles, known for her incredible vocal range and her ability to embody characters of all backgrounds. But her career took a remarkable turn in 1990 when she was cast in a role that would change her life forever: Hyacinth Bucket, the snobbish yet lovable social climber in the BBC sitcom Keeping Up Appearances. The show quickly became a cultural phenomenon. Audiences adored Hyacinth's relentless attempts to appear more refined than she truly was. Her mispronunciation of bucket as bouquet, and her endless efforts to climb the social ladder. But what made the character truly unforgettable was Patricia herself. She brought depth to Hyacinth, a sense of vulnerability beneath the pretension, humanity beneath the humor. Viewers didn't just laugh at her, they empathized with her. Behind the scenes, however, Patricia was nothing like her character. She was private, reserved, and profoundly spiritual. She never married and often said that her career was her great love. Those close to her described her as kind, but exacting, a woman who held herself and others to the highest standards. She was deeply committed to her faith, attending church regularly and spending her spare time supporting local charities. Even in her later years, when many of her peers retired, Patricia continued to perform on stage and on radio, her voice and presence as commanding as ever. She once said, "Acting is not about pretending to be someone else. It's about revealing a truth that already exists within you." That truth, her integrity, her compassion, and her unmatched talent carried her from the humble streets of Birkenhead to the grand stages of the world. And though fame never defined her, her artistry did. Patricia Routledge wasn't just a performer, she was a symbol of timeless excellence, reminding the world that true greatness often comes from quiet strength and an unwavering dedication to one's craft. For millions around the world, Patricia Routledge will forever be remembered as Hyacinth Bucket, the self-proclaimed high society hostess who brought endless laughter into living rooms every Sunday evening. But behind the carefully crafted British accent and the polished exterior of her most famous character was a deeply private woman, one who valued peace, solitude, and faith over fame in public life. As keeping up appearances dominated the 1990s, Routledge's popularity soared beyond expectation. The sitcom became a staple not just in the UK, but across international television, especially in the United States, where PBS reruns made Hyacinth a household name. Viewers adored her exaggerated manners and her comic missteps. For Patricia, however, the show's success was bittersweet. Fame had never been her pursuit, and the overwhelming public attention felt foreign to her modest personality. Friends from the theater world would often say that Patricia lived two distinct lives, one under the spotlight and another behind closed doors. Away from cameras, she led a simple and structured existence. She enjoyed long walks in the countryside, quiet evenings with classical music, and above all, her close-knit circle of friends, most of whom were fellow actors and musicians. Despite her success, she remained remarkably humble, never losing touch with her northern roots. Unlike many stars of her generation, Patricia never married and never had children. In interviews, she brushed off questions about her personal life with gentle humor, often saying that her marriage was to the theater. Those who knew her intimately described her as fiercely independent and deeply spiritual, someone who found fulfillment through creativity, service, and introspection rather than romance. She was also known for her compassion and generosity. Patricia was actively involved in various charitable causes, supporting youth theater programs, local churches, and humanitarian organizations. She once said, "I've been given a voice, not just to perform, but to be of use." That sentiment reflected the heart of who she truly was, a performer who viewed her art as a form of service to others. During the height of her fame, Patricia made a deliberate choice to step away from the limelight and return to her first love, the stage. She took on dramatic roles that challenged her comedic image, including performances in The Importance of Being Earnest, Talking Heads, and The Best of Friends. Each role revealed another layer of her remarkable depth as an actress. Critics often called her one of the most technically precise and emotionally authentic performers of her generation. Despite her accolades, she remained deeply modest. When asked how she wanted to be remembered, Patricia once replied, "As someone who did her work well and left something worthwhile behind." That humble response encapsulated her essence. She wasn't interested in celebrity gossip or the glamour of red carpets. She found meaning in the discipline of her craft and the joy of making others feel something real. By the early 2000s, Routledge began to slowly retreat from public appearances, though she continued to perform on stage and in radio dramas well into her 80s. Her voice, expressive, commanding, and filled with warmth, became one of the most recognizable in British broadcasting. Even as age began to slow her physically, her mental sharpness and wit never wavered. In 2017, she was honored as a Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire, DBE, for her services to theater and charity. It was one of the proudest moments of her career, a quiet validation of decades of excellence. During her acceptance, she spoke briefly and with characteristic grace, saying, "The theater has been my life's home. To serve it has been the greatest privilege, yet even with this recognition, Patricia remained humble and grounded. She preferred to spend her remaining years in the peace of her home, surrounded by books, letters, and the memories of a life dedicated to art." Behind the laughter, Patricia Routledge was not simply a comedian or a character actress. She was a woman of remarkable conviction, one who chose principle over popularity and purpose over publicity. And in doing so, she left behind not just performances, but lessons about dignity, self-respect, and the quiet power of authenticity. As the years passed, Patricia Routledge gradually stepped away from the spotlight she had never truly sought. Fame, in her eyes, was a fleeting illusion, something that came and went with the whims of audiences. What mattered most to her was legacy, and not in the sense of fame or fortune, but in the enduring impact of good work and kindness. By her mid-80s, Patricia had gracefully embraced a quieter pace of life. She settled in Chichester, a peaceful cathedral city in southern England, known for its artistic community and serene charm. There she found solace among the sounds of church bells, the rustle of trees, and the companionship of old friends from the theater. Locals often saw her walking through the streets, a familiar face with a warm smile, always polite but never seeking attention. In many ways, her later years reflected the wisdom she had carried throughout her life, a belief in humility, faith, and gratitude. She spent much of her time supporting the Chichester Festival Theater, attending local productions, and mentoring young actors who sought her advice. Her guidance was never about technique alone. She encouraged them to understand emotion, to listen, and to perform with sincerity rather than vanity. In a rare interview in her 90s, Patricia reflected on her career with her trademark wit. "People often ask me if I miss fame," she said, "but I was never sure I had it to begin with." She laughed softly, her eyes bright with mischief. Then she added, "I think what I'll miss most is the joy of rehearsing, that wonderful uncertainty before the curtain rises." Despite her retreat from acting, her legacy continued to live on through reruns of Keeping Up appearances and her many acclaimed theater performances. Younger generations discovered her work online, often astonished by her range and timeless comedic timing. Even those who didn't know her by name instantly recognized the unmistakable voice of Hyacinth Bucket, commanding, elegant, and endearingly absurd. As time went on, Patricia faced the inevitable challenges of aging. Friends and colleagues passed away, and the spotlight she once commanded dimmed. Yet she faced these years with quiet dignity. She was never one to dwell on loss or loneliness. Her deep Christian faith gave her peace, and she found comfort in prayer, music, and reflection. She once said, "I've had a full life, one that was not always easy, but always meaningful." Those closest to her often spoke about her remarkable sharpness, even in her advanced age. She read voraciously, kept up with current events, and never lost her subtle sense of humor. A friend recalled visiting her not long before her passing. Patricia had been listening to a recording of The Messiah by Handel, her favorite oratorio, and spoke at length about how art could lift the human spirit even in life's final. When news of her passing broke in October 2025, the world reacted with collective sadness. Fans across the globe shared their favorite Hyacinth moments, while theater colleagues remembered her as a pillar of British performance. Many called her the last of the greats, a symbol of an era when acting was about dedication, not celebrity. Tributes poured in from every corner of the entertainment world. Fellow actors described her as the embodiment of grace. BBC executives referred to her as a national treasure who shaped British comedy forever. Theaters dimmed their lights and fans left flowers outside the BBC headquarters and the Chichester Theatre. Her funeral, attended by close friends and a few family members, was a quiet and intimate affair, exactly how she would have wanted it. A simple service was held at a small chapel near her home, where hymns filled the air and memories of laughter echoed in every heart. As the curtain closed on Patricia Routledge's remarkable life, her spirit remained, not just in the reruns of a beloved sitcom, but in the hearts of those who understood what made her extraordinary. She was a master of timing, a woman of deep conviction, and above all, an artist who believed in truth. Her passing wasn't an end. It was a standing ovation for a life performed with grace, intelligence, and sincerity. When the world lost Patricia Routledge in 2025, it felt like the end of an era. She was one of the last great performers from a golden generation of British theatre and television, artists who valued discipline over fame and sincerity over spectacle. But her passing also marked something far more powerful: the continuation of a legacy that refuses to fade. Even now, Patricia's influence can be felt in every corner of British entertainment. Her performances are studied by aspiring actors who marvel at her ability to balance comedy with truth. Young comedians cite her as proof that laughter can coexist with humanity, that even the most exaggerated character can carry real emotion beneath the surface. Hyacinth Bucket, her most iconic creation, remains a symbol of timeless British humor, a character that continues to resonate decades later in reruns, clips, and memes that introduce her to new audiences across the world. But beyond the laughter and acclaim lies something deeper. Patricia's life was a masterclass in integrity. She never chased fame, never bowed to the pressures of Hollywood glamour, and never allowed herself to be reduced to the single role that made her famous. In an industry often driven by ego, she stood for something rare: humility. She proved that it was possible to succeed without surrendering one's soul. Friends and collaborators often describe her as both formidable and kind. She had a sharp wit that could silence a room, yet a warmth that made everyone feel seen. Her dedication to her craft inspired generations of British actors, particularly women, to take their work seriously, to view acting as a lifelong pursuit of excellence rather than a fleeting spotlight. One of the most touching tributes came from an actress she once mentored at the Chichester Festival Theatre. "She taught me that acting isn't about pretending," she said through tears. "It's about listening to the words, to the silence, and to the truth inside yourself. That's what Dame Patricia gave us. Truth." In the years following her death, the BBC and the Royal Shakespeare Company announced plans to honor her with a special retrospective, Patricia Routledge, A Life in Performance. The program revisits her most iconic moments, from her early stage triumphs to her unforgettable transformation into Hyacinth Bucket. Critics have already called it a must-watch tribute to one of Britain's finest. Beyond the stage and screen, Patricia's impact also endures in the countless lives she quietly touched. Her charitable work supported underprivileged students, struggling artists, and community theater programs across the UK. Many of these initiatives continue today, carrying forward her belief that the arts are not a luxury, but a necessity. In a world where fame is often fleeting, Patricia's story reminds us that greatness isn't measured by headlines or wealth. It's measured by how deeply one touches others, and by how one's work continues to inspire long after they're gone. Even now, audiences continue to laugh, cry, and reflect through her performances. She gave the world characters that were funny, flawed, and profoundly human, mirrors of ourselves. As tributes continue to pour in, fans around the world agree on one thing: Patricia Routledge may have left this world, but she will never truly be gone. Her laughter still echoes in every living room, her words still move hearts, and her grace still stands as a quiet lesson for anyone who dreams of creating something meaningful. In the end, Patricia lived exactly as she performed, with elegance, honesty, and an unwavering belief in the beauty of her craft. The curtain may have fallen, but her spirit remains center stage. And as the lights dim on this of British entertainment history, one truth shines brighter than ever. Dame Patricia Routledge didn't just make us laugh, she reminded us what it means to live with purpose, dignity, and heart.